What's up, guys?
Just like this, like, are we flashing gang signs? Is that what we're doing tonight?
Right.
I don't know. It's not working.
Yep.
Anyway.
You still have
Yeah,
to.
beekeeping gangsta signs. That's what we're flashing.
That's right.
Double thumbs up.
Hey guys, how we doing?
What's up? Doing good, doing good. How about you guys?
How are you?
Any better? My name would be Bruce Jenny.
Oh man.
Yeah, I have nothing to complain about, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Even if I do complain, it doesn't do any good, so why do it?
I'm trying to slowly turn my apiary into something that Bruce would want to work.
What doesn't kill you makes you, I don't know.
Yeah.
Swollen.
Yeah. Yeah, what doesn't kill you?
Itchy and swollen.
Unswollen.
Makes you swole. Oh man.
I haven't had a chance to watch your new video yet, Brian, but I can sort of almost see how that plays out. But
well,
I'm sure you talked about it in your video, but there's a lot to that, isn't there?
Oh, here, hang on. I want to share something. I have it so that I can share it now. So this is a small glimpse of what I had to deal with today.
This right here is what you do not want. Now, you're going to have to keep watching. So we already saw I killed that mean queen.
Look at it.
Here, mean bees are attacking a beekeeper.
Isn't that awesome? Look at that.
Shot. I like that. I like that with the bees crawling all over the front there.
And I'm going to see in a couple days if they have.
Look.
Meanwhile, the other hives looking over at you like, what is wrong with those bees?
Brian's version of a bee beard right there.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. Man.
Yep. Yeah, that
was
that
sound, that high pitch kamikaze, we're out to kill you kind of sound.
Accepted that new queen.
Look at that.
Now, I mean, I'm just looking here and they're all over me.
You know, I've got some thoughts on that, Brian, and I'm just now thinking about it. Anyways, I'll save those for if we dig into that part of it.
Yeah, it was just, yeah.
Brian, for everyone on pins and needles right now, just on the edge of their seat, wondering what in the world are we goofing around about? Brian, how's your week been with your bees?
Well, I went over it had to have been a week ago, and I started Demaray round 2. So, shifted brood from down below up top. I learned a lesson in that if you cannot find the queen, don't move things up, just get excluders and, try and make sure that you find the queen, because I had secluded a queen up top then, and the only box that she did not lay in was the bottom deep.
Oh boy.
So the top deep and 2 supers below it, she started in the top and just worked her way on back on down through and just laid up. So I learned what not to do and, corrected that. I have a colony that people saw there that it has just progressively been getting worse and worse and worse. It is the very end colony. So I cannot even walk within 15 or 20 feet into my yard and they're stinging me. Like I literally walked out the other day just to kind of peek at something, and I took one in the back of the head and the neck. And
you gotta fix that.
Yeah. So I went over, I don't know, whatever day it was, and I found the queen, killed her. I think it was probably Friday because I put that video out, Saturday. And then I went over today. What everybody saw was I had gone over to crush cells and put in a new queen. They did have, 10 or so cells that they were, making. So crush those jokers down. But, you know, with a mean colony, so it was mid-50s today. We were in between rainstorms. They're mean as it is. And
Barometric pressure through the roof.
And I went through, I had frames that I had shifted above doing my demaray. And so I shook all of those. So I shook 10 deeps worth of bees.
Oh man.
Looking at, and there was nothing up top, but I just wanted to make sure and double check.
Yeah.
And then when I went down below, I had 10 more frames that I literally shook. You know, I would pull it up and just boom. So they're mean and I'm slamming them and crushing cells. So I'm crushing brood. So by the time I got done with it, you know, I had a very nice suit beard, as you saw. And, you know, it is what it is. I did set the cage, though. I set her on top of some frames, and they weren't like balling up on her.
Oh, okay, good.
So they were walking up across. Now, everything was kind of fast, though. It's just, I think just that situation, everybody is on such a heightened, you know, defense mode there. They're all kind of frantic. We don't have mama. Here's this joker again. But, you know, they weren't balling up on her. So I thought that's good. And I got her installed, closed it up, and left it at that. I probably, you know, in the grand scheme of things, I probably am not going to peek in there for probably a week, just because, you know, if they don't get her out, I mean, they can feed her, you know. I can't imagine that they won't.
They will
release her. Right. They'll get her out. And I want that colony to get back somewhat normal. I know it's going to take a little while just because I'm going to have to work through all the older bees in there. But it is what it is. But, you know, it's on its way. I hated to do it right now just because I didn't want to interfere with any of the honey harvest that, you know, potentially that colony could have given me. But it's to the point that I can't have that. You know, when I was filming the video on Friday, you know, it's never happened, but this would be the one time that a kid or somebody would be cutting through yards and they would go past there and have something like that happen, and it would end up being a liability. So I had to make the move and get it done. I do have signs around there though, you know, beware honeybees, blah blah blah. So you know, but it's a liability when bees are like that, you know. So,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, mine even when mine are bad, they aren't like getting after you when you walk in the yard. It's usually when you start messing with them. Even the bad ones that I've had, they're fine until you start cracking them open. I mean, they might test you a little bit, but as far as coming out and attacking and stinging just randomly, even the ones that I've had in the past have been pretty bad. That's rare. It's more like when you get right up on them or start cracking lids. You know, if you're 20, 30 feet away, they usually don't bother you. But fortunately now, most of mine I really don't, knock on wood, I really don't have any that are kind of like that now. I've got a few that are a little bit more feisty than others, but I don't have any that, you know, I really am afraid to get into.
Brian,
that I dread getting into.
Lot to unpack with that experience. I don't know if you want to get into that now or if you want to go around the horn and come back to it, but there's there's an hour conversation and probably rabbit trails from what you just experienced there. And some folks have never and then may never be in that kind of a position. Maybe we can talk about why that's going on and what to consider.
Yeah, it's just it's
you seem something. Frustrated about it. You definitely seem frustrated. To say
no, I mean, you know, I'm not necessarily like, I'm not overly frustrated. Just it is what it is. You know, it's this is my 10th season. So in 10 years, I have never had a colony like this. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you know, bound to happen.
I'm gonna I'm gonna write a couple things down here.
If people ask, like my video that I put out Saturday, some people were saying, "Oh, where did you get the queen?" and things like that, and it was a package. So I'll start there just to clarify all of that. And we don't have to go quite down this road right now, but just to throw that out there so people can digest it. And Eric is saying, is the flaming bee juice sold out? Well, yes, it is. I need to get honey, Eric, and then I will make some more. So yeah, unfortunately it is sold out. But this colony, it started to exhibit behavior like this, not like this bad, but it started down this road in the fall. And it was a package that requeened itself. So whatever locally, whatever she went out and got mixed up with, I don't know. I have no control over that. I don't know what other beekeepers are in that area. There could be several. There could be one. It could be feral colonies. Who knows? But she is not a queen that I bought. It's a queen that was made out of my yard. So, and that's that. But they started in the fall, and I really did not question anything in the fall just because it's an end colony. So I thought, well, end colonies at times suffer more drift. So I thought, well, they could be just a little bit defensive. Also, we had a very nasty drought. I think they said in the fall we had it was probably the worst in like 40 years.
Right.
So it's like, so I had a queen that got into something that made her, a demon child. Then we had like a 40-year drought. So I just thought, and I had a couple colonies that were a little bit temperamental. So I didn't really I never really looked at that colony like, hey, this is a problem. Just because there were several that were a little bit testy. And it wasn't only my yard, like other people around the area, they'd say, man, my hives are hot, and it's like, well, they had a lot of external pressures coming down on them, no flow, it's drought, and it's just, they had a lot of stressors. Now coming into the spring, they weren't quite as bad initially, but they were small. And now once they have grown, and I've demorated that colony, so I did not split it at all. I have given them the ability to simply grow in size. So there's a lot of different factors. I think there's several different factors that have all played into how it is right now. It's bad. Now, if this queen takes, if they continue down that path, I mean, one thing that I can do is I can just split the dickens out of that thing, split it up, make several different colonies out of it, just totally annihilate it, just say, you know what, good riddance with my honey crop that I would have gotten from that one colony. And that could be a plan, but that's where we're at. And whether we go down that road talking more about it, we can. But Bruce, what's going on down at your place, buddy?
Well, we didn't have a chat last week, but the previous weekend we harvested honey, spring honey, and we had a nice crew and everything went well. We had our spring honey. We ended up with about 40 buckets, 200 gallons for the spring, which I think that's a record for a spring crop for us. It's not as near as much as the summer crop was last year, and hopefully we'll have a big one again this summer. But it was a good time. We Paul, remember Paul Grigg that helped us do the splits? He helped me pull the honey on Friday. Part of that was in the rain, which was not fun, but we got it done. And then we had a nice crew on Saturday. It rained on Saturday, but we were inside. And the honey was extremely thick. We measured my honey, and it was 16.0, which
Wow.
is it was very difficult to get it to drain through the strainers. We don't have a real fine strainer, but even so, it was just so slow to get it in the buckets. We had it started off extracting. We had some issues with the uncapper. We got that working, and then we had buckets of honey sitting there waiting to go through the final, through the hop spiders into the buckets, and they were draining. They were draining so slow. But we've got a solution for that. Rusty figured something out. We're gonna in the summer harvest it'll go a lot faster. Anyway, the honey's usually a little bit. It's warmer. It's kind of usually hot in the summertime, and the honey isn't quite as thick typically. Rusty measured some of his. I think it was 17.0. Mine was 16.0. The one we didn't measure, I'm sure some of mine wasn't quite that thick either. But the one sample we took was 16.0. It was crazy.
Wow.
I don't know if we've ever. Now we did have like a drought for like a month before we harvested, so it had a lot of time to. They had a lot of time to get it to, to get it thickened up or for the decrease moisture or whatever. And it hasn't been super humid. Now that humidity's coming a little bit now, but in April, May, it was pretty dry. It wasn't super humid here. And we had honey like what they have out west in the desert, I think here. But, and usually the spring honey is thicker, but this time it was just a little bit, just kind of ridiculous. It was good honey, but it's extremely difficult to, I'm okay. The tallow honey is usually around 18.5. And, knock on wood, I've never had any of that ferment or go bad on me. So I know it's not a lot of people. It's almost like a badge of honor to have super, super thick honey, but the tallow honey is great. People love it. And that summer honey, right now, from now, the honey's going to be coming in hopefully pretty heavy here in the next few weeks. But now it's beginning to get more humid here, which we're actually drizzling outside a little bit, or it has been a little bit this afternoon. And we've had some pretty good rain. And so, but that's okay. It's people like the honey. What I'm doing now though, I had just a few buckets left from last year. So I'm alternating. I'm putting like a bucket of last year's honey in there and a bucket of this year's honey in there in that beautiful 25-gallon Maxent bottling tank that I have with that speed fill. Man, it's working so good. And it's turning out to just be beautiful, tasty honey. So that's what I'm doing now. But video came out. It dropped about a week after we harvested, and it's pretty successful video. It was a good time, and we had we are trying to continue to just get that thing pinned down and focused in and locked in on our honey harvest, and we've about got it as efficient as we can be now with the new setup that Rusty's getting to help get that tank to drain a little faster. We should be able to go even quicker, but there's always a bottleneck somewhere. It's either the uncap or the extractor or the whatever. And right now the bottleneck this spring harvest was that drain tank where it was going through the hop spires and it was just taking forever to just drain out. But where Rusty, I think, is going to do is buy a little pump. It's kind of like the speed fill pump, that same principle. It's not one of the big fancy pumps, but he's going to use the same principal pump and just put a hose in the thing and a hose down to a bucket. And so we'll have it draining out of the tank, but we can also pump it out of there and just get it coming in twice as fast. So it should go really fast. But Uncle Jinger67 asked the question, Bruce, how would you describe the taste of your spring honey? The privet is mostly what it is, or maybe a little tulip poplar mixed in there as well. Maybe some blackberry, maybe a little bit of clover, but the predominant flower where most of my colonies are, from what I can tell, is privet. Privet honey has very floral. It's a real light floral, sweet taste. And I like it a lot. It's just really good. It's completely different than the tallow. But then, when you have bees out there, you never know where they're going to go. And some of the honey was a little bit darker in color. I'm pretty sure that was probably a tulip poplar. But it's really good. It's just a good tasting honey. And in one of my spots, there are acres and acres of blackberries. And so I'm sure some of it was blackberry. But I would say predominantly it's more of that privet floral type taste. And it's really, really pretty good. We had a really nice flow happening. And then the drought hit for like probably a month there. There was nothing. And when that happened, it just kind of shut the flow off a little bit. And we didn't get as much as I thought we were going to get. I'm kind of glad. I didn't want a great big, huge, harvest in the spring. Normally we reserve that for the summer. I like to get some in the spring, but, I didn't really want to get much more than what we got. So it turned out really kind of perfect for the amount that I needed and wanted. And so it was really good. But that's what we've been up to this past weekend. I went a little crazy making splits this year, and I had some nukes that I made with cells, and I sold a couple of those, and then I got the rest of them out. I didn't do a video on this. I just was kind of in a hurry getting the rest of my honey supers on hives right now. I think I'm going to end up with around, I'll have to count around 300 supers on hives. So that's going to be a
Wow.
lot. And if they fill them all up, that'll be ridiculous.
Gosh.
Might be another record, but who knows if they'll fill them all up. But I do have a few more supers than I had last year. But that's what I've been doing. I've only got, I think, probably 5 or 6 supers left, but some of these splits, that I made, I'm running out of deep equipment. I don't really have much more. I'm running out of frames and boxes. So what I've done is I've either dropped these nukes in and combined them. Like if I had a double deep that was weak, and this sounds kind of crazy, but I've done this on a couple of hives. I just take, some frames out of that top box of the double deep, and I just drop that nuke right there and let them kind of figure it out. I've also just utilized it to strengthen other colonies in other ways. I've also just kind of put them in a deep box and put extra frames in there that I have. And then on some of the single deeps that I have that really need another box because I don't have a lot of equipment left, I've just actually put a queen excluder on there with a honey super, and letting them hopefully maybe make me a super honey. Who knows? And they're running single deep management there. But those are some of the later splits I did. So if they make a box of honey, fine. If not, I'm not really expecting it. So we'll see how that goes. But just trying to kind of manage after this coming weekend. I didn't get it all done last weekend, but I'm going to do a little bit of the same. It won't probably take me about less than a day to do what I got left to do. Then for the next little while, and we'll talk about later in the video, probably I'm just going to be kind of managing supers and making sure the hives are alive and not really doing a lot of going deep into the bee boxes. And so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm at a little bit of a lull. We're ramping up for the summer harvest. We're going to harvest the 19th and 20th of June. And so I got to figure out all the stuff for that, planning for that, getting all the buckets together and getting a crew together and things like that for that summer harvest. So that's kind of what we're doing right now. I need a little break. It's been nuts. And I've been going out after work in the evenings till dark, and just, it's good to not have to be out there in the bee yard, 2 or 3 nights a week after work until dark. And so now I can actually come home but it'll ramp up again here in 2 or 3 weeks. We'll be ramping up again.
Insane.
It is. That's a good way to put it. That's a good word to describe it, Brian. I am.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah.
Well, I know you're seeing the fruits of that labor, Bruce, and there's a lot to look forward to with that many supers on, and that gives you temporarily some breathing room on some of the colonies if you feel like you've got them, past that swarm sequence mode. But that's kind of what we're doing here is, I think how we do things is maybe a little bit different since we have so much of a focus on nukes. We're going through and we've made early splits, put the splits on top, and then some colonies where I'm not sure what it's called. I'm not sure if it has a name or if it's there's the proverb says there's nothing new under the sun. But this, I think what someone joked around and said, what they say, the Greg Marie method or whatever whatever we're doing with this 2 queen colony setup where we're going and making a spring split over the overwintered nuke, stacking them up, supers between, excluders under the broods, and then that double screen board on top as a top entrance. I'm really starting to like the flow of that. And I'm starting to see a pattern on how I may continue to pattern our sequence of events for our colonies, because they can just become very profitable all in the same vertical space, and you've got options and some buffer to decide what kind of an asset are they. And to me, that's kind of neat, rather than going through and digging colonies out, putting them in nuke boxes, and just putting them out somewhere. Like you've already now said, that's a nuke. This one is, starting over with the queen. So that's what we've been doing, is kind of going through and just saying, okay, you're going to be good at this, so you're going to do that. You're going to be good at this, so you're going to do that. But trying to do it in the most consistent way. So we just put a video out today, kind of showing a little bit of what we've been doing in the yards there. And of course, as you're working a yard and going through there, a little baby swarm shows up somewhere, and you're thinking, where in the world did you even come from? I don't even know. This doesn't even make any sense. Yeah, so we've been busy cutting out the last of the overwintered nukes. We had some folks who, couldn't get here the last couple pickups, so we've got one last pickup for overwintered nukes this Saturday, and then we'll transition right into all of our spring nuke pickups. So it's still quite busy around here as far as the shop goes and getting nukes to customers. And then from there, we're doing the same thing. We're managing supers and swarm surge on all the overwinter colonies that are going to be producing honey. So that's if that wasn't enough, there's a list of 18 other directions that we're being pulled, but that's the main thing right now, keeping us busy right now, is just staying ahead of the bees. The weather is, I feel like all we do is we're like a bunch of old men, and all we do is sit around and complain about the weather. But when it affects the bees and their potential output, and the asset and the return, sometimes you can get grumpy, I guess. But it seems as though the locust, we had a little bit, I think, that did come in, a very little bit. We had a very unusual flavor. I think it'll be in one of the members only videos, the learning yard from this last Saturday when we launched that. We did a little taste test, and it was unbelievable, the flavor of the honey. It was unlike anything I've ever tasted before, which was interesting. And these are on the packages that we installed. It was such a beautiful, clear honey. It was still very thick, but it had a beautiful. The best way I can describe it is it tasted like cotton candy. It was just absolutely unique, unlike anything we've ever had before. It's been a long time since we've had black locust hit in any kind of a way. So I don't wonder if it was a mix of a little bit of black locust with a little bit of blackberry just as it was getting capped. That's possible, but so the black locust, it wasn't overflowing and abundant. And I, accepted that, moved on, because the blackberries were starting to bloom. And now, as the blackberries are blooming, we had like 2 days where the bees were all over them. And we just got some extremely torrential downpours last night, heavy winds, hard rain. The blossoms are all over the ground and things like that. So I don't know. Hopefully there's some blooms yet to come. But I hope we didn't just wash out all the blackberry blooms. That's my absolute favorite. If I could choose to only harvest one type of honey, it would 100% be blackberry honey. It's just such a unique flavor, such a beautiful. It's got a floral yet very fruity, almost peach undertone to it. I just love it. So we'll see. The dandelions are kicking in again, and then the clover is starting to pop up. And right now, the most recent bloom right now is the yellow sweet clovers kicking in. So there's still a lot there, but we got to start thinking about winding. I'm thinking about feed at the moment, actually, because within 2 weeks, I can only imagine we're going to be going into probably pulling spring supers off and possibly having to feed splits and brood needy colonies. So I've got 2 totes set aside. We'll see how long that lasts, but yeah, that's where we're at here. So,
I just saw the very first blackberry blooms the other day. I think there was 10, 15 or so. So it was just the very first ones. Our dandelions here are coming into that second flush. And when we were out, the other day, I forget whichever day we took Eli out on a walk, I noticed just the very first startings of clover. So none of the clover has started here. I think in the next week or so, as our weather kind of improves, I think things are just going to bust open as far as the flow here. So we've had the precipitation. Definitely we're way above where we should be as far as precipitation. But yeah, I think if the blackberries and everything like that all just kind of hit, then we'll be good, But we'll see. Time will tell.
And if it doesn't, I think at least the ground game is going to be plenty hydrated. So all the wildflower should be well hydrated. So all the clovers and things popping up until we hit that dearth in July, should be in good shape. And I don't know if we can get. Boy, it's hard to call a fall flow this early, but if we still get some fair to midland rains, we could be set up for a decent fall. We've had enough rain now. If we were lacking in rain now, it's almost like you just don't catch up, and you're just when you get rain, it's torrential and it doesn't help. It just flashes off, So right now, at least the ground substrate's primed and it's still soaking and pulling in moisture and just, I think, deepening its overall depth. So I guess that's good. There's always a silver lining,
We are. Let me see. Today, my little weather thing, I actually moved it off of my desk here. Today, we've gotten 1/2 inch of rain here.
Wow.
So, yeah. But we're way above, way above that mark. They said up here on the news the other day, they said that if we continue like how the forecast is looking, we will have the second wettest spring ever recorded. So we're already, they said, like 4.5 inches or something like that above what the entire spring average should be. And you figure we've got what, 4 more weeks yet?
Yeah, and this is we're in prime time for mating, so when you talk about anyone raising queens and such, I mean, this is prime time for that, which is, one of the, I don't know that we've publicly talked about this much, but we've really, last year we flirted with it. This year we're already in it and it's working well, but we are not shipping queens out to folks. A very, very few, very small number of folks kind of have an opportunity for us to ship them queens. Everything else is for local pickup only, and that's really taken a lot of pressure off of us to try to overperform. A lot of times the demand that we have for our queen line is so unreasonable for us to keep up with that you end up pushing out so far and stretching things out so far to accommodate that you still, you end up accommodating, but you're not left with anything. Your colonies are ran ragged, and then you don't have the queens that you need. So last year we kind of shifted on that and decided to, take care of local customers, some customers abroad, but also make sure we're putting time back into our own bees, which is really important. So this year we're doing the same thing. If we have any extra offerings, it might be virgins, it might be queen cells, but right now all the queens that we can make are going out into our nukes, and then are for here locally for pickup. And I feel good about that. We are not. There's this unrealistic expectation or perception, I should say, with queen breeders. There's very few folks that are raising queens on a scale where they can serve an entire market. It's very, very rare. Most of the small potato queen breeders raising 3,000 or 4,000 queens or less a year. I mean, you'd be surprised how fast those queens get chewed up in the marketplace. So for us, it's like, no matter what we do, we are not going to be in a position where we're pulling 300 queens or 200 queens every single day for 14 weeks. There's just no way we're going to do that. So we have to be realistic with our expectations there, and understand that, we are not commercial queen breeders. Let's work within our context and our scale. Let's not try to be anything that we're not, but let's focus on who is the market that we're serving. And that is our nuke customers. That's our local customers. And then we've got a handful of folks across the country that, we'll dig into our own stock to ship for. But that's been hard. It's been hard to say, we can't serve everybody. It was also hard as our business grew, and, the shop phone was my personal cell phone. There was a time where that existed. And I would get calls at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning with folks having questions. They couldn't sleep and they wanted to call and ask Greg, how do I make a split, or what kind of queens do you have? Or I don't know, what they were thinking doing that. And that doesn't matter. But, when I switched that out and that just became a shop phone, and folks couldn't just reach me immediately or directly, that was uncomfortable. That was a new change as the business grew. But sometimes growth is uncomfortable. We say no pain, no gain all the time, but it's just like, um, working any kind of a muscle out. It takes tear and regrowth, tear and regrowth, tear and regrowth, and stretch and tear and regrowth to build these muscle groups up and to be able to stretch into who it is that we're supposed to be, or what it is that we're supposed to do. So it's been tough to say, you know what, we're not going to provide 4,000 queens for the market abroad. We're only going to maybe do 1,000 or 2,000. It's going to be local only. It's been tough, but that's, I think, a part of growth. That's a part of just being that 10 talent beekeeper, being responsible with our abilities, our talents, and our gifting. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most challenging things, is figuring out your niche, what works most efficiently and effectively for you. I'm still trying to work through that, but I'm kind of getting a little bit of a better idea the last 2 or 3 years. Honestly, I think being a part of the StreamTeam here and consulting with you guys and everybody, excuse me, so many people in the chat and getting to know people all over the country has really helped me to kind of be able to lock in a little better, as well as some local people. A couple, Tyler Walker and Davis McLaughlin, some other people who are locally, have really helped me to kind of hone in a little better what I'm doing. And this year's been kind of fun. It's been as busy as ever, but I feel like I've accomplished more goals, if that makes sense. I feel like I've been able to have more strategic plan. And it just blows me away, Greg. You brought those 2 pallets of equipment for me. Well, actually, more than 2 pallets of equipment.
Yeah.
And it's all, I've got this coming weekend, all the boxes you brought will be on Hives. All of them except for 2 or 3 are on Hives right now. All the frames will be on Hives, basically, except for maybe just a few. And yeah, I did cycle some old boxes out, but not that many, just a few. And so it's been pretty wild. I think I need to count my colonies. I think I got more than I think I've got. Does that make sense? I always tell people I got about 150, but I think I probably have more than that. I'm kind of scared to count them. And it's been a lot of fun. It's just, but still, I'm still kind of trying to figure out. One thing I did kind of discover this year, though, Tyler Walker down here, just down the road, he's a commercial guy. He's a young guy that has a couple of really good breeder queens, one from Zach in Hawaii, one from Latshaw. And so I just found that out this year, and he is starting to sell queen cells. With his commercial operation, he basically makes splits. He sells a lot of nukes, and he's grafting now. He's got a couple of HJ workers that are doing a tremendous job. Beautiful cells, beautiful bees, beautiful queens. And so, I thought, I want to raise queens, but the truth is, if I can just go down there and pay $6 a queen for a cell from him, and then make my own splits that way with cells, I do want to still continue to bring in some mated queens, but man, it's just so much less expensive. And instead of me trying to figure out how to time it, especially working my full-time job and make cells, why not just let someone who does it basically on a professional level, who's really good at it and wants to get rid of some of his cells? He doesn't need all the cells they make. They make hundreds every weekend. So why not just go down there and, buy 20, 30 at a time and pay $180 instead of like over $1,000 for some queens, and just, or however much it is. And then just, if they don't take, then it's like $6, as opposed to 40, $35 or $40 for a queen. And so that's one thing that I really like, is that he's doing that. And so I have access right here locally with some good sales. Not that in the future I might not want to do some of my own queens, but man, it's just so much easier. I just don't have the time to try to deal with it and fool with it. I've tried the last 2 or 3 years. It's just easier, and I do know every year I do make some of my own queens that I don't even know about, the swarms and supersedures and things like that I never even know until after the fact. But it's just trying to figure out what you're talking about, Greg. What is best for you in your current situation with your family, with all the things you're trying to do that outside of work, so to speak. You've got a lot of things going on your plate right now. You've got to figure out how to be most efficient and with your business model. And I think you're kind of getting. I've watched you, Brian. We've watched you, Greg, just develop this business plan over the last 4 or 5 years. It's kind of been fun to see what we've all done.
Oh, yeah.
The three of us plus a lot of people in the chat tonight. We've been able to watch a lot of you guys out there and the things you've been developing, and too. It's just a lot. That's part of the journey. That's part of the fun of it. I think is just building something, and figuring that out. Although it can be very frustrating at times where you get in over your head. And I did want to do it all, but now I really don't. I just want to do my main thing I enjoy doing is the honey, and now I'm going to introduce more. Greg, you really taught me a lot, I think, this past spring when we made those splits and nukes. Now, between you and kind of seeing what Tyler Walker does with his splits as far as nukes goes, kind of getting, if I can kind of sell more nukes in moving forward, that's a nice little stream of income, but that's not my main stream of income, at least not right now. So it's just been kind of fun to develop it and get more efficient and just, there's nothing better. I've been putting some shorts out on my channel a little bit lately when I'm just out in the bee yard. I haven't made a lot of full length videos. A lot of the things I've been doing is just an update, like, hey, take a minute video of these incredible bees and what they're doing. And I crack a lid open, and there's just the frames are all covered with bees, and there's no way to describe how that feels to me. I just love it. And so cool.
I got a question for you there, Bruce. And I might be confused because of recent events, but when you crack open a hive and you see that the frames are completely covered, are your bees then supposed to completely cover you?
No,
because
they're supposed to stay in there, and they're supposed. And if you look at my videos, you'll see on my shorts that I've got up that they're staying in there. They're waiting. They're just waiting. They're looking up at me like, please give me something else to do. Please give me another super. And then they just look at me. I put it on there. And many times within like 10 seconds, they're moving up in there. So it's just, they're like, I've got them trained.
They're trained.
If I pull the lid off and I've got the patty rim and they fill all that with comb and it's all full of honey and stuff, I pull that lid off. They just know they come up there and it's like a trough, like a little bee trough. And they just start drinking all the honey right there where they pull that lid off. And they just know that's their job is to clean that up. And I wait a little while when I come back. No, I'm just kidding. But it's my bees are trained now. They don't do that. They don't cover my whole suit up like they do you, Brian. We flip-flop places. We traded places here.
Exactly. What I need you to do now is send me up like a 20 or 30 minute just sound bite. And it'll be you just saying, hi there, pretty bee. And I'll just set it over on a little speaker just in front of that hive. And every night I'm just going to put it on loop. I'll put it on loop. That way it'll just play.
I can't give away my trade secrets.
That's proprietary.
Right. Yeah.
I'll tell you what I did is I said, hey there, little queen, you little mean queen, pinch. That's what I did, just like you did. And then I put a nice little Hawaiian queen that when you play the hula, they roll over on their back and let you scratch their belly.
Yeah.
That's what I did to fix mine, but plus some other gentle bees. So I got some of Greg's and everything. So
take off your veil. If I took my veil off, I'd be in the ER right now.
Do you want to? So definitely, folks, check out Brian's video. And did you take a video tonight of requeening? Is that what you did too? And that's where all the.
Yeah. They were even my video on Saturday. They were bad, but they weren't as bad as what they were today. So I filmed a short little segment today, just because there were a lot of people saying, can you show us what you do next? And sure. So, and I did. I kept the camera back a little bit though. I could not have it directly at the hive like what I normally do and kind of aim down. The last time that I was doing that, they literally covered it. I had to shut the camera off. There was probably 30 or 40 bees on my GoPro. And when I had got it home, like around the lens, there were stingers that were all stuck in there, and there were stingers down in here. So I had to leave it back about 5 feet. I mean, you kind of get the gist of what I was doing anyways, and I was talking. I had the microphone tucked and kind of hidden, so it kind of hid a lot of that bee kind of that interference noise. But yeah, they were just
Yeah, what I do, I started. Well, I put mine inside my veil, my mic. I just put it inside the veil on my T-shirt right here because if it's on the outside, it's like that video you did though. It worked out good, Brian, because you could hear you talking and you could hear the bees. It sounded like you were and you were kind of in an absolute crazy situation there. But it's sometimes when I have that little furry dead cat on there, they get all up in there and you hear them just zzz, that's all you can hear. But somehow your bees didn't do that. They were attacking. You could hear them attacking it, but they didn't just dig down in it so you couldn't hear you talking.
yeah.
But I
You
do. It was pretty exciting. But one thing too, though, I've noticed though, and Brian, Greg, you guys can both confirm this. When the bees are super aggressive or super defensive like that, if it's raining, what they tend to do, whether they're defensive or not, is they kind of land on you and they kind of just stay on you. They kind of stick on
Right.
you. Like I've gotten in my truck before when
Mm.
it was raining. I have like a big patch of bees on the top of my
Yeah.
veil, and they're just like a big clump.
Yeah.
And so that's one reason maybe they don't fly as much, but they were obviously in that video played earlier, Brian, they were obviously they were just after you. And the thing too is they crawl. Like they're actively trying to sting you, but they're not flying. They're crawling all around. So they find any little hole, any little opportunity to sting you and get up in a crease or whatever.
And
They
they're also
figure that
trying to get
out.
out of the ring so Brian, let's unpack that. He's got a million things going against him. Number one, he's got a colony that is queenless. He has a colony that was already spicy, and now they're queenless. And they've experienced rain for the last queenlessness period of time. And it's raining before he gets there. It's raining after he gets there. It's overcast, maybe a little breeze. The barometric pressure is up. And then on top of all that, it's only 50 degrees. So they're not exactly excited to do much flying. So it's wet. It's cold. It's dark. They have no queen. And then to make things even funner, he's going through and shaking bees off of the frames to look for queen cells, to knock the queen cells down. And so it's been my experience, because we have to work in the rain too. When you're shaking the frames, the bees can momentarily fly, and they will fly up towards the direction of whatever just shook them off the frames. And a lot of the times they're landing on you because they can't fly any further. And if you look, they're also on your pants. And they're also all over the ground too, because their wings are wet. They can't fly. And now they're getting cold. So they start to slow down some. They can't fly. And they're just crawling over everything, trying to find some kind of shelter. And then if you're warm, and what you'll sometimes feel is if you're working them when it's cold and rain, if they do get up under your jacket, you will feel cold crawliness. And you can feel them cold and wet crawling up and around. And then you'll feel them start to warm up, and then they'll start to speed up some. And you'll start to you feel the wings. So that was everything that could possibly be unideal was Brian's experience. But, you're in a situation where that's what had to happen. That colony went queenless towards the end of last year. They requeened, and I think it's something that we should try to talk about the best that we can, because not a lot of folks, last year there were so many stressors going late into the year, whether it was dearth. The other thing that did happen though too, is while there was a nectar dearth, pollen was still in great abundance, and many, many, many colonies were pollen bound in August and September. And when that happened, there was no place for anyone to lay. They are superseding, because there's mom's not laying any eggs, and they end up superseding, not because of a necessarily a queen issue, but there was no place for her to lay, and they go through that sequence. That happened a lot last year, and there were a lot of reported abscons in that time frame too. So when everything gets pollen bound, they make a new queen. This is something that I don't know. I think we're going to see a lot more of what you're experiencing right now. We're going to see a lot more of this. With the modern age of marketing, the beekeeping consumer, they have more options available to them than they ever have before when it comes to bee genetics. And I don't think that's a good thing. What do I mean by that is 100%, bees are racist, 100%. And when you start crossing lines, you'll realize this very quickly. But when we're talking about, why is a colony chippy? Why are they grumpy? Why are they testy? It could be it's just rain and barometric pressure in an overcast sky. It could be external pressures, skunks, possums, coons. It can be that mom is just having a bad day, right? And all the kids and everybody else in the house are having a bad day, right? And it could be a situation where if you remove mom who's having a bad day and give her a friendly mom, everyone's friendly again. And sometimes
This
I
right
have seen,
There we go. Go ahead, Greg.
sometimes what I've seen is in the moments of queenlessness, when you the moment you remove the queen and whatever your introduction preference is, when you put the new queen in, I've seen a column go puppy dog, or a colony go as cool as puppy dogs as soon as you are just inserting a queen that's not even out yet. So like mom's the problem. Sometimes though, mom is the problem because grandma's a problem because great grandpa was a problem. And when you get into that scenario, you get into genetics are a problem. That is a longer fix. So sometimes you'll see when you replace a queen, you will see somewhat of an improvement in behavior, but it's going to take another 3 weeks for the old grumpy bees, or 4 weeks for those grumpy bees to all die out. The young nurse bees start to go through that phase too, but it may take 45 days or longer for a complete brood cycle to actually happen before you see everything cool off. So that part can get complicated, but I don't think what a lot of folks consider is there are so many, like it's almost ridiculous. And I think one of the greatest disservices that is going on currently, one of the greatest package B schemes, is everyone in the world now are getting into the shipping package B game. And I think it is one of the absolute worst things that can happen for any kind of a beekeeper. Now, not only are packages being shipped all across the country, which is affecting their performance, but there's a slew of hybridized genetics available. There is no pure anything. Okay. When these different genetics are getting hybridized, or let's say they're being sold as Russians that are mating with who knows what, or they're sold as a Saskatraz or this or that's getting mated with who know what. Sometimes I think you're getting genetics that are crossing up that you don't see the fruits of that labor until a little bit later, and then you've got a major problem. In Brian's scenario, for whatever reason, that colony requeened. So they make a virgin. The virgin goes out, gets mated with 30, 40, 12, who knows how many drones. And it can be on more than just one mating attempt. But outside of that, you're talking about a drone who has 16 alleles. When he is mating with her, the overall genetic combinations are so intense, right? That what a lot of folks don't recognize is that, yes, there can be aggressiveness that is passed on from a queen, but a lot of the aggressive traits are actually passed on through drones. So in Brian's scenario, he has the greatest risk of aggression by that virgin mating with unknown drones in the area. Brian can flood his yard with all the drones in the world he wants to, but the fact of the matter is those drones in his yard, they may play some small percent, but likely what is going to affect the genetic capabilities of that queen are drones that in yards that he has zero control of. Things that are 3 to 5 miles away, that are when they are cycling and circling in, they are coming into his range of where his queens are going to be mated. You can't control that. And with the influx of so many different genetics available, you could have somebody who could set, and this is my preference. So please, if you love these bees, I'm not out to hurt your heart. But I'm telling you, when you start getting things like bees who are just aggressive because of their certain traits that they have, when you start setting those bees out, 2 or 3 miles away, or they're popping up here or they're popping up there, it can be a major problem for queen breeders as a backyard or a sideline beekeeper. You have no idea what your drone makeup is. Now, most of the time, it's a non-issue. But it's the times where, like what would be interesting for Brian to find out is to go ahead and make some cells or make some splits once colonies are pushed out towards swarm where they're making queen cells. Set those out, let those go on mating flights, and then see how those queens behave. Right? If it was it could be a complete one-off, this one colony, but it would be valuable information for you, because if you find, hey, I've got an issue where all the queens that I'm mating in this particular yard come back grumpy, then that would lead me to believe you've got a drone saturation near you that are expressing this trait, passing it down to you. And then that can help you develop what your queen strategy or nuke strategy would look like in the future. But a lot of folks, if you fooled with Russians, if you fooled with the aggressive side of some of the VSHBs, like, you are intimately aware of what I'm talking about. And it's very complicated. But there's a lot going on there, Brian, and I think you've done everything right. At this point, if you have genetics that are so testy, you can get to a point where they won't even take a queen, and if you find that, they'll sometimes let her out long enough to lay a few eggs to supersede her.
Yeah.
So there's still a little bit of work ahead of you to figure out, what's going on and what are the next steps.
Yep.
Greg, I got a question for you, or maybe both of you guys. In that case, say for example, they requeen, or he requeens them with this new queen, and what you said happens, Greg. They supersede her. They create a new queen, and they're feisty as well. A couple of solutions there. Number one, you can obviously destroy the hive, which you don't want to do if you can help it. But what I've found to work, well, what have you found to work in those situations, guys? Have you ever, Brian? I don't know if you've dealt with it before, but Greg, what have you found to work? If you have a big, strong colony, double deep, full of bees, and you have a hard time getting them to accept a queen or whatever, what have you been able to do to fix that, or have you had a solution to fix that?
If they keep, what Brian did today was the right thing. He went
Absolutely.
through and annihilated all the queen cells, right? So they have no opportunity to move forward other than what he gave them. So that means they'll either accept her and let things move on, and that's the best case scenario. And then he's going to have a cool, colony again, right? But if there is so much to aggression, it's just a drone allele. Like it's very complicated, and there's different levels and degrees of that. What I would say is if they supersede this queen, I would almost just go ahead and let them work with the cells that they make at that point. And then I would see what comes back and how the temperament changes moving forward from there, and then go from there. One of the greatest silver linings that I don't think folks maybe they don't recognize it, because when you think of, well, let me ask the question. If we were to ask the people here in the comments, would you say, in a situation where a colony is queenless, just comment here below, or comment, and let's try to do a count. A queenless colony in the comments, is that an asset or is that a liability? And let's just see what the folks tuning in have to say. A queenless colony, is that an asset or is that a liability? Let's see where that goes there. But Brian, what is your plan if they for some reason say, no, we're not going to accept a queen? What's your plan from there?
Yeah, I'll tell you, as much as what I would love to keep such a large colony, because we're going to be, I think, in the next few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, I think we're really going to pack in the nectar. But if they show absolutely no sign of improvement, if they annihilate that queen that's in there now, then probably what I will do is, I don't want to euthanize the whole thing, because what I could do is I've got 6 or 8 pro nukes And I mean, I could just split the dickens out of that thing. I could just rip them down and just 2 frames of bees in each, throw a frame of food, an empty frame, whatever, and just totally annihilate and just make colonies out of it. Get queens and just, bust it down so that, well, that one mean colony makes, I mean, I've got 10 deep frames down below, 10 deep frames up top. Probably 17 of them are drawn out. So, I mean, I could easily make 8 colonies out of it. So
that's kind of what I was thinking. That's what I found to be successful. Sometimes is if they're super big and strong and super defensive, you can sometimes break them down, humble them. I guess the word used is humble them.
yeah,
And then you break them down into 2 or 3 frame splits, with a couple frames of brood, a frame of food, and a frame or 2 of foundation. They don't have the volume. They don't have the number of bees that can. It seems like they're a little bit more humble than and able to be managed with a new queen and so forth. I would say too that one strategy you can use. I think somebody mentioned it earlier, like early in the chat tonight, is if you move them away a little ways, and the foragers, Bob Benny talks about this. If you're dealing with a really mean hive, and I've seen David Burns do this too in a video where he actually takes the main brood box, he kind of moves away a little ways from the spot. And so you're dealing with the bees that are more nurse bees and stuff when you're trying to actually deal with the bees. And I've found that too, that if you move them away from the original spot, if you can do it now, if you got a double deep that weighs, 120 pounds or whatever or more, it's hard to do that. But if you can kind of somehow, once you move them away, they seem to be more gentle. The foragers obviously go back to the original spot. And so around there, it's going to be a little crazy, but that might be a little bit of an easier way to work with them if you decide to do that. Just break them down and move them away a little ways. I think it's almost better, Greg, I don't know if you agree with this, but to kind of do the splits in the same yard too, because then like I said, the foragers go back. But if you move the splits off a little ways, then they tend to be more easy to work with, and you'll lose a lot of those mean foragers. Those are the ones that are stirring everything up. You kind of start over with a new little colony there that may get rid of the bees that are aggressively attacking you and possibly that new queen. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Question then is, what do you do with all the foragers who go home?
Oh, I'll tell you what to do with them.
Just euthanize them, or what?
Yeah, I mean that's always the move, and I like where everyone's thinking, and I like that everyone is, a lot of folks are on it depends. Is it a liability or an asset?
That's right.
Scenario. Right now, that queenless colony, short term, is a liability for Brian because of aggression. The concern he has is keeping it calm so he doesn't get stung. No one gets stung. Like, that's the main concern that I've heard Brian vocalize with it. So he's taken steps to mitigate that. But in a situation like this, though, that colony will probably very likely be your biggest honey producer right now on this flow, because all of their effort is now all turned towards gathering.
Yeah.
And so it's a phenomenal asset for a honey crop for sure. So if you can, even if they decide to chew up a queen, if you can hang for another week or two, and then let a lot of those older ones start to die off, but then start to make the crop, then at that point, what you could do is just move the colony to a different part on the stand. Put one little 5-frame box with a few frames of bees back in that spot. Let it catch all the foragers. Make you up some sugar water spray the bees, spray the frames, and then if you want a tote of water or anything else, and just shake the drones off the frames. Dispatch them any way that you see fit. You have to think about drones, and you say, oh my gosh, is Greg just condoning the murdering of drone bees? Well, in a situation, if he has a genetic issue with aggression, 100%, because not only is he jeopardizing, not drones, the grumpy worker bees, in that situation there, if he has drones as well, you've got to stop that cycle. You've got to stop this potential breeding cycle for not just his yard, but anybody else or any other bees in the area. and get ahead of this aggression cycle as best as you can. So yeah, in that situation, I would totally dispatch if that's what it took. And I would do it in a way to where you're not sacrificing the equipment, you know, spray them down so they can't fly, they can't move. You know, if this is a sensitive subject for you guys, then you could spray these grumpy worker bees down, right? And then you could take that to the homeless pet shelter and knock on their door and say, look, we talk about, and I love this. I'm going to be careful, and so I don't say something that, you know, but this entire Save the Bees campaign is so wildly out of context. But maybe you could just wear your Save the Bees shirt and you say, "Hi, here's." Anyways, I'm going to stop there because I'm going to get dumb. But yeah. So liability or asset, it depends on what the outcome. What's your intended outcome for it? But you can have a short-term outcome that it's a bunch of honey. Move that what's left of the brood over and then requeen it if it needs a second attempt. And I would use a queen cell, either that they make or pull a queen cell from another colony, and then just let that colony dwindle in size, but make the honey, split them out, and then move on.
You know, I do have, you know, I mean, if that's the course that I'm going to go down, if that's that road, I've got several pro nukes. I've got 2 resource hives, you know, so I mean, I can bust that joker down. If I make 6 colonies out of it after I get some honey, I mean, that'll just annihilate it right there. And I do like what you said about just putting a small box there just to collect all the foragers, and I could go over afterwards and I could euthanize those.
Yeah.
That'd be easy. You know, I could go over there at nighttime, staple up, you know, some wire on the front of it, and they'll get the old dish soap treatment. So, you know, yeah.
Baptize them in Dawn dish soap.
Yeah, it's tough to do, and so many people are concerned about every little bee, but it can be extremely, you know, like you say, in your area where there are people around that could potentially be around them. It's just the best thing to do is to make sure everybody's safe. And you know, you guys know that my bees have had a reputation. I've been committed the last 2 or 3 years, or even 4 years, to trying to get them calmed down. They are much better. They're still not perfect, but they're way more better than they were
that they
4
are.
years
They
ago.
really are.
And
yeah, night and day difference.
So but it's, you know, even good bees on a rainy, cloudy day can get nasty, but not, you know, but it shouldn't be a consistent thing time after time. And when those ones that you were dealing with there, Brian, I mean, you looked like those guys when they shake packages. You ever watch those videos where the bees are just all over them? Yeah, that's what you looked like. And you just had one colony you were trying to go through. So
what do you call those? What do you call those? Oh, my brain's fried. Like, I don't know, like 40s, 50s or so. And like the women were wearing like mink. What do you call the things that go that they, what is that piece of not furniture?
Is that a shawl or something like that?
A piece of clothing, apparel? What do you, like drapes over them? Like a,
is that a shawl? Is that what it is?
Well, shawl is like a knitted, like a blanket thing, I think, isn't it? Like, what do you call like when it's like a mink or a fox? They're wearing a mink or a fox. It's like a, not a scarf. It's a what am I talking about? It's a,
not sure.
Man, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's like the collar goes around here, you know, and it comes down, and it's like just for decoration or whatever you call it. You can tell we're not very luxurious. Maybe like a mink. What do you call it? A mink scarf? Maybe it's a scarf. It's like a scarf. Maybe it's a scarf. I don't know. Anyways, Brian looked like he had a honeybee.
Yeah.
Whatever that thing was called.
What I should have done is when they were coated me like that, I should have walked up and done the old, and it's another day saving the bees. See?
Brian, I just don't know where we go from there. I mean,
Yeah. I could have also walked over there and been like, it's the greatest colony ever. No other colony like it. You know?
Yeah.
Trump is a beekeeper. There we
Mink.
go.
Everyone is saying a mink. Is it a stole? A stall?
Mink.
STOLL. Jimmy's neighborhood bees. Now there's a man of
Mink.
high style. I think he would know. I trust him. Mink stole.
I typed
Okay.
in mink stole and I got a picture of an actress.
Or is it
Yes.
stole? I don't know. Is it like Fred Gilly?
Oh, well, right here, mink.
Must be Italian.
Yep, that's it. So a mink stole or whatever, or a fur shawl.
Okay.
Shawl, yeah. That's another word for it, maybe.
SHAWL. Yeah.
Well, you can tell that we're not silver spoon folks. That is not something we
See?
Okay. There you go. Well, Brian, that's what you had, Brian. A stole.
Yeah. Bruce said before you said you want to do a bee beard, if you come up, I mean, I could guarantee you'll get one.
Yeah. And then I would have when they got the bees off, I would have a nice, like a big, huge double chin too. I would have no neck there for a while.
I tell you what, it's a going away gift. That right
Ian,
there.
Ian calls it a throw. I think that's another word for it as well.
A throw, maybe, yeah. Mink throw. Maybe so. Okay, so but here's there's always a silver lining. There's always a blessing. There's always something to look at. And what I see with this situation is you are employing a couple different tricks of the trade in this scenario because you've got sort of a complicated scenario to start with. And it's not that there's some unideal circumstances going on with it. So you're working through it, right? So that's valuable. You're working through a complicated situation to come up with a solution to the challenge at hand. Like that's valuable. But I think, this is something out of the ordinary for you to deal with. And I think that that's always good too, because when you're getting into things that you don't typically deal with, you're stretching, you're thinking, you're figuring things out. You're like, you know what you definitely don't want out of attributes, right?
Oh yeah.
We want the Brian who can wear his shorts and go out there and do his thing, and not this. And so, I think it's good. I think it's but you also, how do I say this? You also get to stretch your senses and your sensory experience, because when bees are acting a fool like this, they smell different, they look different, they sound different, they feel different. And those are different things that is all part of this experience that in the future act as warning systems for you if something like this were to pop up ahead of time. Like if you go out to a yard and all of a sudden you smell bananas, and then it goes from bananas and let's ask everybody here, if you have smelled bananas, have you smelled what happens after bananas? If so, what is the smell after bananas? Leave it in the comments here. Let's see how many people get dumb like me. Bruce, I don't know. Bruce is probably, have you gone past the banana smell, Bruce, to the next level?
There is you talking about smell or just what do you, yeah, there is like, it's almost like a rancid smell. It's like almost like a rant when they're just absolutely mad. People call it bananas. It smells more like I don't know. It's not exactly like a banana, but I'm not sure what it's like a really super ripe or like a rancid type smell is what I smell. It's not exactly like bananas, but I know what you're talking about.
Pain smell, the smell of pain. Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not sure what, but it's just like a rancid. It really is just like a different. It's like a sour smell almost. When the bees are really mad, it's almost like if you accidentally squish one, or you can smell that like they're in your nose and you pop it, and that's kind of the smell that you get when they get really mad. That's the smell you get. So
Kenny Bach, that's a good one. Do tears have an odor? Okay, so I could just be, you know, sometimes you just smell bananas to rotten onions. That's really close to,
That might be
really
it.
close.
It's like when they release their stinger, when they actually sting you, there's a little bit of a different smell than the bananas. Does that make sense? Like the pheromone, when they're mad, might be the bananas. They're the alert pheromone, but when they actually sting you, it's a little bit different. And that's kind of more like what it gets when they get to that really hyper agitated state.
Have you ever heard the saying that someone's full of what's the family friendly, someone that they're just full of whiz and vinegar?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
another way.
There's a certain smell that when the alarm pheromone is going, it's bananas. But then when that's the warning. But the action side of that, when it goes from bananas to full onslaught of stinging, it gets into this acrid vinegar smell.
That's a
And
good
then
word for it.
Yep, and then when they get full on, like when it's 8:45 at night, or it's 6:30 in the morning, or it's in the rain, then that vinegar smell, it almost does, it starts to develop this very foul vinegar. It might go from white vinegar to like apple cider vinegar, or like a malt vinegar smell. It even that changes. And I notice when that's happening, that's when I'm getting stung up a bunch. I'm getting stung in the face, or just even like if on my jacket, whatever, that you can start to smell that. And I think it's a combination of probably the venom sac, but also as they pull off, the intros that they're leaving behind, and you get a bunch of that happening over and over and over. I think that's what you smell. But I'm surprised Brian didn't smell that today, because it looked like they were
they were all over
nearing that.
But I'll tell you though, did you notice here? Let me I won't did you notice how calm?
I mean, it's just to me, that looks like loving on sugar daddy.
Looks like,
that's what it
looks like. Brian's been hanging out with the killer bee guy from the YouTube channel with Killer Bees. He looks like he just is comfortable hanging out with that guy. He could just go do removals with him.
Yeah,
he's a very like dramatic, like music, like just some like battle music or something.
I've been thinking like, now I was thinking like 1990s like Blade, like the Blade techno.
I can't think of the music, but
yeah,
just oots. Yeah.
See, look, Bruce. He's like,
Bruce knows.
Yeah. Good.
I'm thinking of like this. I'm trying to think what, I don't even know what movie it would be in, but that it's more like a classical string thing with a operatic choir in the back. Looks like AI to me, Brian. That's funny.
It's AI.
You do it in slow motion, like you're just, just the beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Harmony.
It's a beautiful. Or just put the Mr. Rogers Neighborhood. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day for a neighbor. Won't you be mine?
Yeah.
Won't you be mine?
Now, if I wouldn't get hit with copyright,
see what I did there?
You could do that, and then you could put like the sound over of the bees attacking your mic in the previous video in there as well. So you could just,
he's got the little train. I could have a little like model train in front of the hive, sitting there getting just attacked like crazy.
You know what you could do is, you sometimes ever hear like remixes of songs, but they'll make it like weird and scary and kind of like dark. They'll kick something into the minor key and they'll stretch it out, or they'll lower the overall tone of it so it sounds, you could do that with Mr. Rogers. So it's like would you be my neighbor? And here they are, just anyways.
Oh well, it's a learning.
Country road bees, so beautiful, Greg. You missed your calling. It's just one of those things.
It's a learning experience. That's all it is. So,
well, Brian, we're going to be on Pins and Needles. Just wondering what's going on with with this killer hive here, Brian. What's going on this next week here?
Well, I'm just going to be going through and kind of I've got just a few more nukes I need to kind of get put somewhere, whether I use them to strengthen another colony or I try to find some deep boxes to put them in. But I've got, I think, 4 more, maybe 5 or something like that to do. And then I've got a few more supers to put on and on the honey producing colonies. And I'm just going to be looking at the tallow trees. The blooms are starting to drop on them as the little shoots are going to start to hang down, which means that they should be starting to collect from the tallow trees, which is our big honey harvest and nectar flow. And so I'm hoping to see them filling up boxes with honey, and that's kind of where we're at now. I've done the treatments. They've got the extended release treatments on them, OA treatments, and so they've been on there now for probably 6 to 8, quite a while. And I'm really not going to be doing a lot of going into the brood boxes. Of course, I'll do it if I detect a problem, but for the most part, just going to be staying out of the brood boxes. If I crack open a lid and see bees up there working and putting honey in and happy, that lid gets closed back down and just, don't mess with them. Leave them alone for we're going to harvest a month from today. We'll be in the honey house extracting honey, and a month from yesterday, we'll be pulling the honey. So it's going to be a busy couple of days again. And I hope to get we always have good crews. Hopefully we'll get another good crew this year and be some different people this year. Some folks can't make it that made it last year. I don't blame people for ever not coming back after experiencing that one time, but some people, like Lisa, she's been to several times and she keeps coming back. So she's just about as crazy as I am, I guess. She likes to come and help, but we always end up with a good crew and good folks, and we have a good time with it. But that's all I'm doing now is just getting ready for that big honey, and I'll be straightening up a little bit around the barn too. It's kind of been just crazy I've been just like keeping my head above water, just trying to get things straightened up, get some of the, like for example, Greg, the pallets and things that you brought, the plastic and everything, I got to get that, maybe just take it away, get it to the dump or whatever, and get everything just straightened up a little bit. And, we're really on the tail end of the fun part of beekeeping, here. We've gone through the build up, we've gone through splits, we've gone through selling nukes, we've gone through our spring honey harvest, we've gone through stacking boxes and letting them grow. And now it's a matter of getting them, growing, continue to grow through the big honey crop. And then after that, it becomes, the less fun time of beekeeping where it's hot and humid and nasty and, hive beetles, mites, all the things, possible droughts. Bees are not happy, no flow, and just, storing honey supers, all the things that are just miserable to do. That's what happens after June. But for right now, we're kind of not really a holding pattern, but kind of not a whole lot of aggressive in the hive beekeeping going on right now, unless I detect a problem. So excited about it. And I'll be doing a few videos here or there, but the video frequency might drop back just a little bit for right now. But I'll try to keep everybody posted either through YouTube Shorts, Reels on social media, or some long form videos as well. Just trying to kind of keep everybody updated. But we're ramping up and trying to prepare for that big harvest in a month from now.
Awesome. Well, here, I mean, you guys know what I'm dealing with. So
Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Hey Brian, how are the Demarays doing? Are they doing well?
I will, in 13 days, I went through each of them this evening and smashed down the cells in the top. I just, how the weather and everything was, I did not feel like setting up splits. I was thinking about it, and I'm telling you, whether they're kind of just getting into the routine of what happens, like when I'm doing the Demaray, they're like, okay, we need to make cells up here now. Greg, I crushed probably, I had to have crushed 40 or 50 cells today. Yeah. So, I easily could have set up a couple splits from that, but it just, with everything that I had going on over there, I'm like, yeah, I don't quite want to start that just yet.
From the spicy colony?
No, from my
Oh,
other
just
demo
just
rays,
just
like,
just overall. Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
I mean, I probably like in the spicy one, I probably crushed, I don't know, 10, 15 cells or something like that. But then the other Demeray colonies in the tops, I crushed cells. And I mean, there were some nice frames that had like real nice looking cells. But it wasn't like a slew of them. They'd
Mm.
have like two. And I looked at this one and I'm like, man, I could easily walk this over and just throw it in a box.
Oh yeah.
But I don't want to get into that just yet because of potentially what I might have to do with the spicy one. So, other than the spicy and other than the Demarays, the other colonies are doing really well. Um, the each of the packages that I got, they all now have medium super on them, so they're the deep, and then I do the story and a half. So they have their second box. They're doing really well. One of them had cups, so when I went over, they were pretty much packed out. And when I looked at
Mm.
it, I thought, "Oof!" And it was good that I put on boxes when I did because had I given it a couple days, maybe a week, they probably wouldn't.
Ooh.
Cups would have been cells. So, but I'm staying ahead of the other ones. The yard is building out. It'll be okay. Those that are watching, keep watching and keep following. Uh, I'll show what happens. So, but that's going to be about it. And I know this weekend, it's the long weekend here this weekend. So Monday will be a day away from work and away from bees. And I'm going to be smoking some ribs on the smoker and doing a little cookout.
Oh,
So
that sounds nice.
telling you,
Brian,
oh,
are you a man of the 3-2-1
oh, you know it.
rib method?
Oh yeah, you know it.
Sounds good. Wow, that sounds nice.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, is there anything else you want to cover before we start to close things out there?
No, you're up. You're
Okay.
you're in the
All right.
batter's box.
All right. Well, thanks. We got Bruce, Barker's Bees, and Mike P4890. Thanks for the super chats there. I know Brian appreciates that. This whole
Mhm.
stream team does. Really means a lot. I know there's, it's sometimes hard to, you know, when we get together, you guys see the screen here, but there's so much stuff back here and underneath of here, and the kind of expenses that we
Mhm.
all take every single month to um, just to be able to stream, to be able to put these out, to be able to put them onto a YouTube channel, all of the maintenance and the packages and the programs and the this and the that, it gets to be very expensive. So, from all of us, your super chats are very much appreciated. We really do appreciate you guys, and thanks for tuning in. I know we say it all the time, but it's 4 years in, and we're just scratching the surface of what it really means to be keepers of the bees. I think it's one of the great honors and blessings that we have to be called to this thing, called to be stewards of this incredible creation, these bees. And so there's always something fun to talk about. What's going on here is similar from last week. Last round of overwintered nukes are going out the door. So we'll make those up at the end of the week, have those ready for our customers. And then we are just going into full on monitoring the spring nukes, seeing how those are growing out, getting those ready for our customers. We still have some spring nuke availability. So if you're looking for nukes out in our neck of the woods, you can come and visit us at naturesimagefarm.com. And if you are out this way or a surrounding state and you want to help support Nature's Image Farm, think about Maxent stainless equipment. We've got it here in the shop. We're putting together some really nice orders right now. So if you want to save on freight and get that reduced dramatically, you can pick that up right here at Nature's Image Farm. Reach out to us and we can help make that happen for you to get you the very best and made in the USA honey processing equipment. And you can save a pile on shipping. So definitely we would love it if you would keep us in mind for that at naturesimagefarm.com. Guys, I'm kind of I'm starting to focus a lot of my thoughts and the things that we do to just kind of be more aligned and in line with a kind of a greater purpose, a greater calling. And I think it's important as we continue to just hash this beekeeping thing out and hash this thing called life out, that we're staying true to that calling. We're staying true to what God has for us on this path. It's so easy to get distracted. It is so easy to just start pulling off in this direction and pull off in that direction. But thank God that there is grace and that He continues to bring us in the fold, keep us on that path. And so I know for me, I'm really thankful for that. We alluded to it earlier, but it's sometimes you got to make some tough calls and say, you know what, just because I love this thing doesn't mean that I can keep doing this thing or providing this resource or providing this product to a marketplace because it is taking away from your ability to do something even greater in some other areas. There's some things that I'm excited to talk about later on this year, but I just right now I'm just feeling extremely blessed to be called to be the keepers of the bees, to have these bees as the conduit to so many great people, to so many great connections. To me, that is just it's huge, and I never want to take that for granted. Next week, guys, whose channel are we going to be on? Bruce's channel, 8 p.m. on the Bruce's Bees YouTube channel. We'll see you over there. It's going to be a lot to talk about next week, so don't miss it. Until then, we want to remind you to be the lighthouse and be who God wants you to be in this world. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.